What's up, YouTubers? Today we're going to talk about the FOBOS Tier1-BC. For operators by operators, that's what FOBOS stands for. And the BC stands for Boot Sized Combat Handle. Not to be confused with the Tier1C, which definitely has a bigger handle, certainly in the height range. This is for boot carry. I'm not a boot carry kind of guy. I'm not tactical, so this was just basically general use and really outdoor use for myself. I had a chance to kind of take it to the mountains a couple times this summer. This review is supposed to be out a long time ago, but we're running a little bit late. I will go ahead and move the sheath aside. We're going to come back and talk about that. This knife is designed by Eric Hansen, who has 22 years of terrorism experience as a soldier. So this is somebody who knows a little bit about tactical knives and capabilities that are necessary in the field. Somebody who's basically has that much experience is going to basically do right by the design. So this knife weighs 9.3 ounces and 13 ounces with the sheath. So it's just 3.7 ounces on the sheath. Pretty nice and light. The blade length is 5.8 inches of Magna Cut Super Steel, and it did a very good job. In short, this knife goes for $365. I got it at YV Gear. I will go ahead and link YV Gear below. Not a sponsor. Link it in the description. And one thing I will also link in the description is I think it's called the Anatomy of a Knife. It is a conversation between Outer Limitless and, in fact, Eric Hansen about really all the FOBOS knives, but they go into a lot of detail specifically about the Tier1C and then this one, the BC, which is truly a pretty amazing knife, in short. In terms of some comparisons or alternatives, I'd say on the low end, in my collection, I have a similar length and size is the Cold Steel SRK. This one is in SK5 steel, and it goes for roughly $45. You can get a higher end one in 3V steel for $150. So that's kind of one option there. And then stepping up just a little bit in size and also price is the SE6. This is made of the 1095 high carbon steel, and this one goes for $150. My Carta scales on that one, and this one is, I forget, some sort of neoprene, but it's their soft thing. By the way, this one is in my Carta, these scales over here. So that would definitely be some alternatives in my collection. And then in terms of kind of stepping up in materials a little bit, this is in fact the Architect knives. Maybe I'll put it over because it's taller. The Architect knives 6.5, but you can just imagine kind of a 5.5 in competition with this 5.8. And that this particular one is made out of Magna Cut, but I did find one currently available in the 5.5 for $190. So $365 versus $190 if you want kind of just a more simplistic knife. It's definitely more simplistic. And let's go ahead and jump into this. In terms of the pros, the package is light and thin, making it very nimble without any loss of capability in terms of a knife, other than just chopping. We'll get to that in a little bit. But yeah, everything about it, the sheath here, and I'm going to come back to this a couple times, very thin. It fits very very thin, fully reversible, tons of mounting points, and just super light. No excess anything on this knife, and that really was what it was for, is for tactical kind of carry. And you'd want something very light to go with your pack. The blade is absolutely excellent. It has a very nice near spear point blade, so if you had to basically drill something out of it, would be just fine. The Magna Cut is HRC'd at 62. It's dropped up great, did not chip. I basically tore down an entire Christmas tree, delimbed it all, and not a single chip on it in terms of the edge. Very good. All I had to do was restrap it back up, take it out. I took it out in the mountains a couple times, left some marks here. You can see where, and I wasn't able to get those off. It just had to do with when I was splitting wood by batoning. So really good. This swedge back here, speaking of the blade, kind of goes up reverse. I forget the name of it again. You can catch that in the Outer Limitless linked video, But this particular swedge back here, he did research on it, and this provides for the greatest tensile strength in a twisting motion. So if the blade is getting twisted in any fashion, let's say it's in something and twisting, it will not break because of that. That literally helps that, not just necessarily relief from material on the backside. So, you know what? Great blade. Have no complaints about this one. The fire steel notch is the best fire steel notch I've ever used. It's big. It can handle anything, and you don't even have to have really good fine wood. It will just scrape off so much of the. I think there's magnesium in a ferrocerium rod, and it just lit right up. I absolutely love that. For me, that was just I've never seen one better in terms of that. And actually, I'll go ahead and show kind of a quick example of the White River Firecraft series. Those have a small little notch. Kind of take a look at these notches together. We'll try to get that in. And if you kind of take a look at that, the one is just maybe that's probably the best way. Maybe put them side by side. There you go. That's the easiest way to see it. Is the one here on the FOBOS Tier 1 is just so much bigger. This one's very useful on the White River knives, but boy, I gotta tell you, just for various fire steels in various conditions, shapes, and otherwise, this thing's the top. It's really, I've never handled one that's better. The handle jimping, this one up here is interesting. It feels kind of sharp when you're straight up, but again, you watch the video, and he says, generally speaking, that you're going to have your thumb off on either side, depending on if you're cutting like this or this. And he's damn right that there's a little bit of a curtailing there or chamfering, and it makes for perfect. In this straight position, it digs in a little bit, but just to the side, it's absolutely marvelous. And then you have this on the back here. Each individual little jimp is a little bit sharp, but in whole, there's no sharpness at all. Same thing on the finger groove here. Pretty amazing. Tons of research went into this. So just really good. The bow drill availability. I did not bow drill with this. I'm going to try that next summer. Available on both sides, so it's completely ambidextrous, being on how you want it. If you want to be holding it with your right hand and bow drill there on the divot, or with your left hand, if you're going to be spinning like this. So yeah, it's again, that's a really I think strong side of that thing. The pommel is one of the best attitude adjusters I've ever seen. You saw it destroy those annealed Scotch bottles, whiskey bottles, and yeah, I think very good and useful. And that's all. Enough about that. The sheath. Let me go ahead and bring this back out again. The sheath is absolutely excellent. No shake. No rattle. It's just the retention is absolutely bonkers on this sheath, and it's one of those where just absolutely perfect. It's also got tons of mounting spots, capabilities for tech lock mounting if you wanted. And here's one last thing that is very, just, I don't know if it was a forethought or not. I didn't see it in that video. But if you'll notice, there is a grommet locked in on this side, but the release point is all over on this side. So if you see that separate there, through time, it can happen with sheaths in and out, maybe 1,000 times, 10,000 times. They can loosen up a little bit. Well, you could actually just put in a screw in here and just slightly tighten that and increase that tension, and therefore, basically prevent that from coming out. So that, I don't know. I do believe that was considered as future tightenable. So yeah, I love that. The dangler is fully removable here. I'm a dangler guy. And yeah, you can just take this off, go to the other side, or put it, if you want to make it left hip mounted, mount however you want it, or just take it off entirely and lash it to, your pack. So yeah, the pros on this knife are absolutely, it's just all over the map. And this thing comes with some wicked wax too, which is really cool. Put on your blade. Nice, little good protector. Just reduces the friction on it too. Yeah, food safe. This knife on the con side, it's not a really good chopper. It's very light, and so even though I did take down an entire Christmas tree and delimit, not the most comfortable. certainly with a smaller handle and fairly narrow. This is not built for, a pure bushcrafting where you're going to be in a hammer grip like this. And from the chopping perspective, just a little bit light. Did chop okay, just, not so good. The location of the bow drill divot, as far as my middle finger, if you take a look at this as I go right on, I don't necessarily like that particularly, that the middle finger disappears straight into it. That's one thing where I did kind of like the White River Firecraft is down a little bit lower, and I wish kind of it would be in between. I know this is kind of beggars can't be choosers, but I would say are just nitpickers. But I would choose myself just to move that down just the slightest bit. It would still be safely outside the sheathing, and then this finger, which is kind of one of my key ones for grip on a knife, wouldn't kind of get lost into that divot. So just move this down towards the down that way just a little bit. Nitpick. But like I said, we're talking about $365 knife. I think it's fair to have some nitpicks. And the handle height, again, I already kind of talked about that. It's not real tall. In fact, even if you look like against this small, small SRK one, the SRK is even bigger and taller, so a little bit tighter in the hand feel. Even like this 4-inch knife here is very similar to the White River Firecraft. And certainly going back to some of the other big comparisons, is these are going to definitely be a little bit more hand filling. But again, these are not necessarily for specifically tactical, as far as I'm aware. So yeah, those are the only three things. The hammer grip, you wouldn't really. This isn't the greatest for just straight woodworking. Does it work? Absolutely. You're gonna. I really kind of like this forward choil here, and then you're gonna be leaning like that. Did pretty darn good in terms of feather sticking. Flat grinds never have a great advantage there. So overall, I would say this is perhaps the most well thought out fixed blade ever conceived. The production of it, the material choices, really match that. $365 is a fairly hefty price for a fixed blade, even in Magna Cut. But I would say on this particular knife, once you really use it and spend a good deal of time with it, it is absolutely justified. And this knife is truly, I wouldn't say like a leader in the pack of one knife only. If you could have a fixed blade, I think it probably would be in there. But for the fact that it being light, not the greatest chopper. But at the same time, also you could basically just wrap this around a stick and add some more weight behind it to chop it, and it absolutely batoned just fine. Magna Cut, super, pretty damn solid stuff. So yeah, I would say this is an absolutely great American-made fixed blade knife, and I think all the items, when you do spend some time with it, definitely go watch that video, The Anatomy of Knife, and I hope you did find this of use, if not interesting, and I appreciate the like and subscribe. Have a great day.